Welcome to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about some of the latest TDP labels that have been approved. Some of these are going to be instant buys when I see them in my market. Others are going to be hard passes, but let's go ahead and jump into and see what those are. So the first one we're going to talk about today is a little bit of old news. It came out the day I posted my last update on the latest bottles that were approved by the TDP, but it is the E.H. Taylor Bottle and Bond that is now going to be part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. To be honest, I don't know, I'm not that excited for it. Just because I don't know how much different it's going to be than the current E.H. Taylors. Each Taylor has the same mash bill as Eagle Rare and George C. Stagg, which are already in the antique collection. And my understanding, the big difference between each Taylor and the Staggs is how long they've been aged. So I have a hard time imagining that this is going to be that much older than the current lineup, because once it gets up to double-digit ages, I think it's going to start tasting more like Eagle Rare and Stagg. And if that's the case, I just don't quite understand what the purpose is for this. However, I'm sure the people at Buffalo Trace are much smarter than me, so maybe there's a way that this is somehow aging without getting those over predominant bitter oak notes. If they can somehow get that creaminess, light richness on an older aged product, I actually will be all in, because I'm chasing those lighter notes more frequently now. If they can get that more of what a dusty note is, that to me isn't quite as bitter charred oak as some of these ultra aged Buffalo Trace products. They're more of a mellow oak. So if they can somehow get that oak in this E.H. Taylor, I'll be all in. I just wish they had done a Mash Bill 2 addition to the lineup instead of another Mash Bill 1. Like I said, the same Mash Bill as Stagg and Eagle Rare. Whereas the whole Mash Bill 2 lineup, none of it is in the antique collection currently. That would be the Blantons, the Elmer T. Lee, the Hancocks, all those kind of squatty bottles. None of those are in the antique collection. And I think it would have been really cool if we could have gotten one of those Mash Bill 2s at a much higher age-dated product. Even a barrel proof. Right now, the only barrel proof one is Blanton straight from the barrel. So if you could have gotten a Blanton's that is 16 years old at barrel proof, you sign me up, because some of my favorite Buffalo Trace products have been Blanton's from the 1990, 1992, 3 era. And those Blanton's were much older. They were 16, 13-year-old Blanton's, whereas today they're closer to 8 years old. And they're drastically different. So if I could get a much older Blanton's product at barrel proof, I would have been much more excited about that addition to the lineup. So this next bottle is the one I am most excited for on this list, and I will do everything in my power to try and get it. And it is the William Heaven Hill Kentucky Straight Bourbon Barrel Proof at 19 years old. This is coming in at 134 proof. These William Heaven Hills have been fantastic. I've tried the 15 and the 17, and both were really good. The 17 I actually enjoy more. That was one of the higher proofs they had done, I think, since the release. And I want to say this might be the highest proof. No, I don't think it's actually the highest proof. It might be the oldest, though, they've released to date. Yeah, it is. It says, if you read the back label here, it's 19-year-old is the oldest William Heaven Hill they have done to date. It also says in the back, I like the details here, it says it's comprised of 30 barrels coming from the 4th and 5th floors of Rickhouse A in the historic Glencoe Rickhouse site. Also from the 5th and 7th floors from Rickhouse O at the main Heaven Hill Rickhouse site. I am a little concerned, though, on the yield of this. So it does say that it is 30 barrel blend, and it's at 19 years old. So I think those barrels are probably going to have maybe 75 bottles in them. Some will have more, some will have less, but they're going to have massive angel share evaporation. I'm not the best at math off the top of my head, but what's 30 times 70 is a little over 2,000 barrels. So yeah, we're looking at somewhere a little over 2,000 barrels for this blend. And that just seems like a really small release. A lot of these other LEs, they're like in the 15,000 range. So if you can imagine how hard those bottles would get, you can only imagine how much harder a 2,000 bottle release is going to be. I imagine the secondary in this is going to be through the roof, but I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to see if I can plan a trip. These typically come down in the fall, so I'll try if I can get to Kentucky in the fall and just roll the dice, and hopefully they release it like one of those mornings when I'm down there in Kentucky. But this is definitely going to be probably top 5 of the year of whiskeys that I am hunting and want the most this year. Now, before we move on to the next bottle on this list, if you're enjoying this content, these bourbon news updates, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my future releases discussing the latest whiskey news. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is coming from the Four Roses Distillery. This is an extension of them releasing all 10 of their recipes at 100 proof. Now, traditionally, these have been available as store picks at barrel proof, and you had to hunt down across the country to try and collect them. Well, now they're doing them at nationwide release. They're going to go through all 10 recipes, and I think they said roughly 3 years. Last year was, I wrote it down just so I don't forget, it was OBSF, OESK, and OESO were the 3 from last year. And then one coming from this year is the OBSK. I would expect another 2 recipes to come out this year to kind of keep track of that 3-year timeline. That'd be 3 a year released in addition to their traditional Four Roses single to get all the 10 recipes. So it'll be interesting to see what other ones come out. So far this year, I've gotten 2 of the 3 recipes that come out. I have not gotten the OESO. That one had a very small distribution in my area. But I am collecting these all, trying to get all the 10 recipes. I think that'd be a cool video for you guys to try them all out. This is going to be a multi-year project, so who knows if it's even going to be relevant then. But if you at home want to really try all 10 recipes, I don't recommend you going the route I'm going down because it's a lot more expensive and it's going to take more time. Instead, try and see if you can find those Four Roses kit sets. They released them, I think, last year, and there's some still in the market. They were a little expensive for what they were, but they are drastically cheaper than buying all these bottles. You get to go through, try all 10 recipes. I think they're all at, I forget the proof point. They're not at 100 proof, I don't think. But they're all the same proof. They're all, I think they're single barrels. They might be batch product, but I think they're also single barrels. But you can go through, try all the different recipes and see which one is your favorite at a much cheaper cost than buying all the bottles. So next we have a new addition from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Well, I guess not so quite new. It's more of just a sticker. It is that they're doing single barrel picks of the Rock Hill Farms and the Hancock Reserve. I'm not too interested in the Rock Hills. The ones I've had have been very mediocre. They are the lowest proof of the Mash Bill 2, but the one I am more interested in is the Rock Hill Farms. When I did a blind of all the Mash Bill 2s that I own, Rock Hill Farms came in first, and dramatically first. Like, it was a hands down slide win. They are all single barrels, so it could have been just that blind I was doing. But given that blind, I definitely want to hunt down one of these Rock Hill Farms single barrels. That said, I'm pretty sure these are going to be highly allocated. Every liquor store and their mother is going to want to do one of these picks because they haven't been released yet, and it's kind of a status symbol to get to do this next. So I imagine these are going to be very hard to come by, and when they do, the secondary on them is going to be ridiculously high, and I just recommend you guys to wait. These will eventually get out in the market. Wait a couple years, you'll be able to find one at a much cheaper price. So if I find one at MSRP, I'll get it, but I'm not going to be paying secondary to get one of these store picks, either the Hancocks or the Rock Hill Farms. Now, instead of the Hancock, I wish they did an Elmer T. Lee pick. I think that would be a cooler pick. I think it's probably just brand marketing. The Elmer T. Lee is a cooler bottle and history behind it than the Hancock's Reserve. So I think that would just be a cooler pick to have. I don't really know how much different it actually would be realistically, but I think that I wish marketing wise they had done Elmer T. Lee instead. There's also rumors that there are going to be other Weller picks coming down the line. They haven't been posted. I haven't seen a TTB label on them yet, but there's rumors that there might be future Buffalo Trace picks in the Weller lineup coming. So the next one we're going to talk about is coming from the Beam Distillery. I'm pretty sure these are gift shop exclusive releases. In the past, These are their distiller shares. They've done a couple of these type of things in the past, but this one is celebrating the 230th anniversary. It'll be coming out in the summer of 2025, so it's coming here right around the corner. What I do love about this release is that it is in 375s. I think all gift shop releases and all LEs should be 375s. You can't drink through the whole bottle anyways, and it can help spread your money across getting more LEs, and it gets the bottle into more people's hands who can actually drink it and share it, as opposed to just being like a trophy bottle on your shelf. But all that said, I'm not too particularly interested in this blend. There is 20% 20-year-old whiskey in there, which is really cool. However, 80% of this is 7 to 9 years old with a little bit of 11 year in there. With 70% of it being 9 to 7 years old, that is basically like a Booker's. And I'm just not the biggest Booker's fan, but who knows, maybe that older blend in there gives it a little more character, gives it a little more richness, and it may be a great pour. So I think to me it's going to come down to the price point on this. And if I'm at the distillery and I can try it at the bar, and if I love it, I'll get it. But this is not one, just based on the stats here, that I feel like it's a must get, have to go buy this year. It's more going to be if I'm there at the distillery and it tastes good, I might consider it. So the next one we're going to talk about is coming from probably the best distillery that's killing it right now in the whiskey game, and it is Jack Daniel's. Again, this is another gift shop distillery release. This is going to be their Sweet Mash Straight Tennessee whiskey. This says on the label here that it was aged in 2016, so that's going to be 9 years old potentially, depending when they distilled it and when they're bottling it. So roughly around that 9 years old. It was aged on the top floors of the rick house, so there's going to be a lot of interaction between the wood and the whiskey there, and then it's going to be bottled at 117 proof. I'm imagining that that was proofed down significantly if it was on the top floors for 9 years. But what I'm excited about this is the tasty notes. It says that it is rich butterscotch with pecan, berry, and caramel. Sign me up. Anytime this says butterscotch, I am falling in love with those bottles lately. So I'm really excited to try this because I don't get butterscotch on any Jack Daniel's products. So if I can get that butterscotch along with that traditional Jack Daniel's notes, I am really excited to try this. This is coming out in the fall of 2025, and it's also, again, a 375. Great on your Jack Daniel's, perfect size for these limited releases. I'm gonna love that. You can buy more if you want. They let you buy multiple at the distillery. So if you're someone who really wants 750 of it, you can just get 2 of them and be on your way. But it's definitely be one I'm gonna try and get my hands on this year. The next one we're going to talk about here is the Maker's Mark Cask Strength. It says it's a limited bottling, but I don't know if this is actually a limited release or if they're just throwing that on the label here. However, I do love all the information they're putting on this. I wish more distilleries would do things like this. So the top left corner, they mentioned that the barrel entry proof is 110 and the batch is 378 casks. That sounds relatively large. A lot of these distilleries will say like small batch on their label, and I guarantee you the small batch might be something close to that size. So I'm glad that they're actually saying how many casks are going into the batch instead of just saying generically small batch whiskey, because these massive distilleries, I guarantee you more often than not, that is probably their idea of what a small batch is. Probably the thing that is catching most people's eyes on this though is it actually finally has an age date on it. It is 7 years and 3 months. I don't know what the 3 months is doing there. I would have just left it at 7 years. I don't think it's really moving the needle that you had the 3 months there personally. But I'm glad that they finally have an age statement on it and it's coming straight from the barrel. So I don't know though if this is a new addition to the line or if this is going to be replacing the cask strength version that they already have, because it talks about it has a batch number on it, so it makes me think that there's gonna be multiple batches of this. And then also in the label on the left hand side from the age statement, it says each batch aged to taste. So I don't think this is going to be a one-off bottling. It sounds like there's gonna be multiple of them, and it makes me think that it's probably going to be replacing the cask strength, because it seems to be the same type of offering, just with now more information attached to it. Because if you read the right-hand label, it talks about how they're all aged to a minimum of 7 years, the cast strength version. So it sounds like this is just the current cast strength with more information added on it. Who knows, however, maybe it's a new addition to the lineup. So this next one is one that I know a lot of you out there are going to be wanting to hunt, but for me, it's going to be a hard pass, and it is the Old Fitz, the 9-year. They release the Old Fitz twice a year, the spring and the fall, and this is the latest addition to the Old Fitz. It always changes which ages they are, but this one being at 9 years, it's going to be a pass for me. It's really not that much older than the Old Fitz 7 that they just put out in the marketplace. And I currently have the 10-year-old, and I don't think it tastes that much different than other shelf stable products. The only time these Old Fitzes have been worth it to me are when they're ultra aged, like when they're up there like the 17, 19-year-old. Those have been worth it. Or like the red labels, the very special olds. Those are unique one-off offerings that are really good. So with this being, it's probably gonna be a little more expensive too. It's just gonna be a pass for me. It's just something I don't think I'm ever gonna go to, and I already have an Old Fitz 10. However, if you do not have an Old Fitz yourself, I completely understand why you'd want to get one. It's an absolute gorgeous bottle. Like this can be a statement piece on your bar set. Maybe have all your stuff below, but this can be the one that sits on the top of your bar set. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. People who aren't into bourbon are gonna look at it and think it's probably the fanciest thing in bourbon, the best thing there is out there. And when you're pouring whiskey for people who aren't into bourbon, the bottle really carries a lot more weight than the whiskey inside, and that's part of the reason why Blanton's does so well. So for me, it's a pass, but I completely understand if you are looking to get it. Okay, so the next bottle is coming from Seelbach's. Seelbach's does a lot of these private labeling under their own brand, and this is the latest release under it. I don't think I've seen this brand before. Rothskeller Revival. They may have done something before in this label, but I don't recognize it. But if you look at the back of it, this is why I'm more excited about it. It is Barton juice that is really, really old. So 2007, 2025, that is an 18-year-old Barton. And that rings any bells is because the Calumet just released their 18-year-old, and it is blowing up in the bourbon game. I think it's the best thing that's come out this year. And a lot of other people have given it really great reviews. So given how much I've loved that Calumet 18, I am super excited to try this. However, it says it is only one of 220 bottles. So I don't know if they have multiple single barrels of these or if this is only going to be one single barrel they're releasing. So if it is only one single barrel with 220 bottles, I don't see myself getting this. That is way too limited. And I guarantee you the price on this is going to be expensive. Given how well Calumet did at that price point of $500, I bet you other people in the marketplace are going to try and ride that wave, and they're going to jack up the prices on these Barton barrels. So at the price they're probably going to be asking and the limited nature of it, I'm most likely going to be out on it because it's going to be something I'm going to want to taste or get a review from someone I trust before spending that kind of cash on. However, if for some reason it comes out at like $200 instant buy, I just don't think it's going to come out that way. But it's something I'm interested in, and hopefully I can get a little pour of it or something just to see how it is. The last bottle we're talking about today is a bottle that I have absolutely no interest in getting, and it is the Woodford Double Oak. They released this last year nationwide, and they just got approved for a new TT label, so it sounds like this is going to be a permanent addition into their lineup. This will be something that's distributed nationally going forward. What killed me about this bottle was the price. They were asking $200 for this thing, and it just sat in the market. No one was buying it. So I'm hopeful that Woodford is going to look at that and realize they need to lower the price on this bottle, because there's no new specs on this. It doesn't mention age, doesn't mention how long it was in the second barrel. It just says extra aged. So without any new stats, I really hope that they lower the price on this, because it actually was fine whiskey. I enjoyed it more than I wanted to. I still couldn't justify the $200 for it. So if they can drop this thing to like $120, I'll be super stoked. I'm all in for it. I will buy it. but as long as they keep that $200 price tag, this is going to be another pass for me. So that's some of the latest bottles that have been approved recently by the TTB that will be coming out in the future. If you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button, that way you don't miss any future videos. And before you head out, check out this video here. And until next time, cheers.